All right. So Andrew said that he wasn't gonna be here exactly at 3. So I guess Diego, you can start an introduction because apparently you have a name for this shit.
Oh, I don't have a name for it yet.
I mean, you
I've
ca-
been
you
ca-
call
I'm
it like
calling-
House of Pogs.
Wait, like,
Oh,
are we
well-
recording right now?
Yes.
Yeah, we're recording
Yes.
right now.
Well, let me pull up OBS.
Well, I mean, that's the name of the Discord, so Le Casta Pods. Unless you want that
Le
to be the name of the show too. Le Casta
Red Pods.
Pods.
I was thinking 3 idiots and one guess. That's the name of my podcast.
3 idiots and one guest. Are
Okay,
you
I'm
the
recording
one
on
guest?
OBS.
No, we're the 3 idiots, and we have one guest who is somewhat
yes,
competent
we can't use
of what
Three
we do.
Stooges. That's been taken away over 100 years ago.
You just said.
Yeah. I mean, they're dead. They don't care.
But it's their property.
It's their intellectual property
Indeed.
forever and ever. Except it's actually 125 years, but it might as well be forever.
Yes. Okay, so like, if we've been recording this whole time, this has been the most awkward intro ever. All right, so
I don't
yeah,
think
yeah.
we're gonna use this
No,
as
no,
an
so-
intro.
no.
Oh, you bet your ass I'm putting this in.
All right, so let me introduce
I
ourselves.
ain't
then.
wasting this gold. All right.
Let me introduce ourselves. Welcome to yet to be determined name podcast. I'm one of the 3 hosts, or 4. I don't know how many hosts we're gonna have.
It's 3, man.
3 hosts. Okay, I'm one of the 3 hosts. I'm Diego, and here are the other hosts, Waleed and Luis. And say something so they know what to correlate your voices with.
Hi.
Perfect.
That was the
I'm-
longest delay. I don't even think that was a delay. Did you both purposely say, "All right, let's just be quiet for 10 seconds"?
No. I was waiting for Luis to say something, and I guess
No,
he was
I
waiting
was-
for me.
No, I was waiting for the perfect awkward silence. That,
You're
Oh,
welcome.
perfect.
and I,
This is the office. All right,
Yes.
so Waleed,
all right.
Yeah.
say something. All right, that's
Uh,
Waleed's first.
Yeah. Hi. I'm Waleed.
Yeah,
That's
you're,
me.
You're a natural, and
Yeah.
the other voice is
Yeah.
Luis.
I'm Luis.
Yes, and of the 3 of us, I'm the youngest one. I'm
Are you really?
yeah. I just finished my freshman year. Remember?
Which year were you born in?
2001.
Oh yeah, you definitely
Oh
are.
my God.
It makes sense. Luis is a junior. Well, finished junior year. You finished sophomore year, and I just finished my freshman year. It's all each layers.
You're a child.
Yeah.
You're a child, my
I'm
God.
not even 19 yet, so well as of right now.
Oh.
As of
Oh
this
my
exact
God.
day, May 20.
I'm-
May 23rd. Yeah, May 23rd. Yes.
I will never be 20. I'm just 19, and whenever my birthday comes on, I'll be 19 too. And then,
Are you from Hollywood? Like, what is this?
You know the movie 17 again with Zac Efron. He's gonna fall down a river, and make himself 17 again. So
I don't-
that way
So
he'll
you see
turn
the-
to 19.
I will tell you this. The reason I think this will be perfect is because I am completely outside of the loop of everything. I don't know about video games. I don't know pop culture. I don't know music. I have been listening to the same 50 songs for almost 19 years. So I will ask the dumbest questions every time about anything. When Wally told me that, oh, the new game that's basically Overwatch with Counter Strike.
Valorant.
Has-
Yeah, that game.
Yeah, Valorant has a cheating problem. I was like, what the fuck is Valorant? And it's like, oh, it's the Overwatch Counter Strike thingy. And it's like, oh, I haven't seen this. And then I pull up a video and I'm like, I don't want to see this anymore.
You know-
So the dumbest questions and then we have Andrew.
If you've been listening to the same 50 songs for the last 19 years, you say, man, you've been missing
Yeah.
out on music. But that means you've also missed out on the bad music, too.
Yeah, it's all in Spanish. So it's like,
Okay, that's good. That's what you call quality.
but it's like all Christian like hop, basically.
I thought you were gonna say like, oh, it's just the music you hear at parties, fiestas, when your family members are there and they get drunk at 3 in the morning with Corona beer and anything like that.
No, 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 no.
Oh.
One of the songs' name is "There's No Hospital in Heaven." That's, and I've been listening to that more times than I've gone to church. I've listened to that song.
So you basically secluded yourself, but at the same time, you chose that. You
Yes.
chose to do that
I
when
mean,
it comes to art,
I
comes
chose,
to everything.
I chose to listen to a over 25-year-old song in loop.
In loop, just non-stop for the last 19 years.
Yeah,
It's
how
been
can you
on
not get
loop,
tired?
Yeah, I mean,
non-stop.
I listen to some music here and there. Like I found the Correspondence, which is a little music duo, but they stopped making music
Oh,
around like 5 years ago. So I be keeping with them trends, my guy.
Something's gonna tell me that you're gonna discover Taylor Swift in 10 years. Like, guys, I just discovered this new artist. Look, she's called Taylor Swift. She's so
She's
cool.
like, oh,
Look, this song
like,
is called "You Belong with Me." It's pretty new, man. And then you become like, oh wait, this is from like 20 years ago.
yeah.
yes, yeah. I'll be talking to my grandchildren like, kids, I just found this new guy called Justin Timberlake. Oh my God, he's amazing.
They'll be like that old guy who sung for that one acapella group or something. I don't know what they're gonna be doing in the future or anything like that. Let's be honest.
Acapella.
Most artists that are young right now probably aren't gonna be like as popular later on because they were popular because of their music that related to the younger audiences, like Taylor Swift's "You Belong with Me." But she's the one of the few cases of her music's been expanding and getting like staying relevant.
I love this
Well, I will
discussion
never
about
know.
video games.
Oh yes, that is
Oh yeah.
that's basically what
I
we're
mean,
here for.
I mean, Andrew's not here. Like, what? I mean, we talked about making a few topics. What do you put as a few topics,
mean,
Diego?
uh,
You said that were broad.
I mean, mine were just introductions. You know, what we do, what do we like to do, what do we want to do, and yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
you sound like a business major, my guy.
exactly.
I'm the business
Well,
I don't
major.
even know what they do.
Oh man. Yeah, what the fuck does? No. Let me get back on topic. So, Wally, what was your list? Was it all video games related, or did you also have some
Not
more
all video game related.
broad topics?
I would somewhat broad, like in terms of recent news. I was thinking of like the anti-cheat software that some games have right
Yeah.
now, and I was thinking also to talk about like Evo, the biggest fighting game tournament going online, and
Oh yeah.
how some games were cut, like Street Fighter V or Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
They banned Sonic. Oh my god, Sonic is so overpowered. Wow.
And instead we got a, I forgot the name of the game, but it's like it looks like My Little Pony fighting game.
It's just My Little Pony.
I'm sure Andrew would know.
Yeah, no, Andrew would, whenever he joins in, I would love to talk with him about that. And other
I mean-
than these two topics, we could talk about like video games we've been playing, and you know, why
Yeah.
we like
No,
these.
I feel like that. No, I feel like that would fill the hour. But
Yeah.
I gotta say, the one question that I really have would, and I'm sure Andrew will be able to elaborate, or I even think he might not be able to, but a large, and this is why I think esports is not, while it is very popular, it's not as popular as regular sport. But it's the reason why sports connect, at least with me, is because it's very cheap to get into it. Like you might see the big stadiums and people with a lot of equipment, but at its core, it's very easy to do a sport. Like when I was back home in the Dominican Republic, you needed a stick and a rock, and that was enough to play baseball for a good lifetime. And if you wanted to play soccer, okay, you have a ball and a wall, and that's enough. But when you want to do esports, at least competitively, you need a somewhat decent rig,
Well,
a decent computer. Like I know that some games like Counter Strike and
well,
what other game is
sorry to
what's
interrupt.
requirement, Counter Strike.
I just want to like, if you're talking about competitive video games, so like, if you want to go to a sport competitively, such as soccer, I don't think you would need a wall.
No.
You would need
No,
a good
I
pair
feel-
of cleats. You would need a good, jersey with your name on
No.
it.
I mean, the audience. The audience no. The audience doesn't need much, and because you need so little to start, there's not really a barrier to start doing a sport. Like how hard? It's very easy to go to Walmart and buy a ball for $5. It's not very easy to go to Walmart and buy a PC for $1,000.
Fair. You need to do like your own research and difference between laptops.
Yeah. So,
all that.
so I was wondering if that barrier of technical know-how is why it took esports such a long time, and it's still why a lot of people are somewhat cautious when it comes to esports because they're like, I mean, I grew up with a ball and a wall, so I get soccer, but
Yeah.
I don't understand these new kids and their newfangled machines.
Well-
and then all of a sudden, a stadium full of people want to watch some 14-year-old punk play Fortnite.
Well, there's a new genre of games called esport games, or and these games, for example, like Overwatch, CS:GO, Fortnite, as you said, don't need the best hardware to run. So like, your a decent laptop for less than $1,000 will run these games. Not necessarily 100 frames plus, or like on high settings, but if people want to play these
They'll
games,
run.
they can play these games. Such as you just need a wall and a ball to play soccer. You can grab any cheap laptop, and run these games.
Yeah, but it's still the difference of $495.
Definitely, I get
Between
that
them.
difference, but
There's also the argument. I've been quiet for a while, been eating a sandwich.
fair.
Wow, an immediate streamer, I guess. Look at here.
I know.
Yes.
When it comes to like that argument with the laptop, my laptop really can't run GTA 5 and play some like hard game or.
I mean, I don't think GTA 5 is that competitive.
No.
Actually,
I'm just to make an example. Like it's a very big game in terms of how much RAM it is. So like, but then you have something like Overwatch, which I don't think takes as much space as GTA 5, but it would be very hard on my own laptops. So like you do need like a very specific type in order to handle like what games you want to play. If you can play Minecraft on like what I have, it's easy. But something like Overwatch, which is a very common game people play, it's not really so easy on my end. I'd have to play like on a console if I want to have a good proper experience with no end lag or anything when it comes to like my own experience.
For a good price, I guess.
yeah. There's also the infrastructure of some things. Like some people still don't have internet in America.
That is true. Amish
That-
people excluded
Is it-
because that's a given.
Yeah, that's a given. They're not real people, but it's just it takes a lot of infrastructure and a lot of money to start even liking or even wanting to start any game competitively. I wouldn't have played CS:GO on my laptop. I could get like 45 frames, but that laptop was $700.
Yeah.
So that's just where I'm at. So I kind of want to know Andrew's point of view because he's been on esports, or at least for Smash, and while it's not a PC, having a console is still a fairly significant leap
Especially for Smash.
in terms of prices.
Or like,
Yeah.
or honestly, like fighting games in general, because, well, some people prefer other like controllers. Like, with Smash, majority of people like GameCube, or for PlayStation people with like Street Fighter, people would prefer to use a fighting stick. And then on top of that cost, you need to also buy the DLC characters that come out, because you need to practice against those characters in order to like
Yeah.
get into that esports field.
Or even just play as them to see if you actually want to change your own main or switch it up.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah, the way that I see DLC is like it will be part of the competitive scene, is a given.
Yes.
But it kind of reminds me of someone say let's say I'm playing baseball, and I decide to go to the major leagues, and I've been using this specific wooden bat.
Wow,
it's
you
just a generic
decided.
wooden bat. Yeah, no, it's just a generic wooden bat. And I step to the mount, and then the referee says, "Hold up, son. You could use that bat, but also that bat has been proven to be somewhat inferior to all these other bats. So if you do not change your bat, you will not fit in with the meta of our specific baseball game right here." It's just like, okay. And then he shows me the bat, and it's like, so you could buy this bat for this price, or you could gamble to get this bat. And it's just like, oh man, I really can't afford to buy the bat with my money right now, but I could afford to like take a random spin. It's just like the referee's like, hold up, son. If you decide to buy now with a spin, you could be sign up to a premium account for free. And it's like, oh man, I want to spin, and then you lose, obviously. And then it's just like, oh man, you can't play, but you don't have the right kind of pants. And I'm like, come on, man.
So like you like I decide to go into the major league. Damn, I wish it was that easy. But
No. Like you practice,
Yeah,
practice
yeah.
and practice. Let's say that all the work has been done, and I get scouted, and it's just like, oh, but you don't have the right shoes. Just like,
and that's what's
I don't-
preventing you from getting into the league. If
Or preventing you from being better,
I see what you mean.
because you're gonna be behind in the meta.
Yeah.
Like you could know all of it, but if you don't know, if you don't have a deep understanding of a character because you played it, you're not gonna know what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you need to practice.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
What?
Also, Diego, I will ask that you make me a note on the time that you weren't here, every time that you weren't here, because I don't want to scout the whole waveform for you to get here.
Oh, sorry. It just there's like background noise, and I don't want it to be like picked up when you guys are talking.
That's fine. I can get rid of it.
Yeah. So like, I actually have a funny story when it comes to the fight stick. When my friends and I went to PAX East this year, in 2020, on the Saturday,
Yeah.
the convention center had already closed. But you know how they have the halls that are open for like playing games and stuff like that, like Smash, Street Fighter, or even just like Mario Party. So,
Yeah.
Andrew said he's gonna be here in like 5 to 10 minutes, as you can see. But
Yeah, that should be fine.
yeah.
I can edit him
So
in later.
my friends are playing Street Fighter 5, and there's a fight stick. And my friend Christian, who has no experience at all with games, let alone Street Fighter, he just picks it up, and my friends are just using it, and he beats one of us, and we're like, oh, you know, just got pretty lucky. You know, we all laughing and stuff like that. And then he beats another one, and another one, and another one. And we were all getting very scared at this point because we were like, this fight stick is probably the thing that's helping him. So we got a fight stick ourselves. And it turns out, no, it wasn't the fight stick. It was just that he
It was just that you're
he
bad.
was just naturally better at the game than us. And it was Street Fighter 5, and he was using Dalsim. So either we got screwed over by not knowing Street Fighter 5 mechanics when it comes to counter picking, or he's just a natural given player when it comes to Street Fighter 5 and using the fight stick. There was even one random guy watching who we were like, hey man, do you want to play against him? And he was like, no way. He was so scared. We'd lost like 10 rounds, and he beat all of us every single time. And we left the convention center with him not losing a single match.
Oh,
it was
wow.
the scariest thing to witness. And he doesn't play games, might I tell you.
Yeah, but that's the thing about fight stick. They, depending on how you play, they are a significant advantage when you use them. And Andrew can talk more about this. You can get really good with a controller, but there are some combos that you just kind of need a fight stick for because you need the leverage.
Yeah, or it's just, 5 or how many ever big buttons and a huge stick.
Yeah.
So I could see like why it would be easier to pull off a complicated combo, or even for someone who's just picked up a new game, how it's much easier for them to look at that rather than a controller.
Yeah, but imagine the fight stick that I bought for the VGA. It costs $48, and that was Andrew's suggestion. But even he said, "Oh yeah, that's like kind of like the cheapest stick you can get," and it's like it's barely enough. if you want a really good stick, you gotta make it yourself, or you gotta pay like $200.
Yeah.
And the other Android fight stick is $200, and he's been modifying it. So it's just like now you need a console and a fight stick and a monitor that does the frame rate that you need.
Yeah.
It's like oh my god, how does anybody get into esports when? And it kind of brings the idea that this is why kids in particular are more into esports than adults, because adults didn't grow up with this, but kids did, and it's fairly normal for a family to have a computer at this point.
Yeah.
And so you just have these kids that piggyback of their parents, and their parents don't have time because they gotta fuel this kid's esports habit. So now you need someone that's constantly funding you for that better graphics cards, that better monitor, that better keyboard, and that's just not going to happen in a regular place, and it's not going to happen with a regular adult because they just don't have the time.
Assuming they don't have the time.
Yeah, assuming they don't make six figures in 6 hours, and they have the time to venture through the country.
To me, it honestly depends on which game someone would like to play. A good example of a game that I think anyone honestly can run is Team Fortress 2.
Yeah,
I used to run it on my 2011 MacBook. On
The one you're using right now?
no, I'm using my Acer Predator laptop. But yeah, that game can run on anything, and I think it's an esports title. I'm not sure if like people watch it or not, but yeah, like you can just use any $5 mouse you have laying around and play that game. Even if your laptop is a potato, you can run it on potato settings. And
yeah, like
yeah, but what if your mouse is not good enough to detect fast movement for $5?
well,
actually
you're
not
just
that
getting
bad.
started, so.
So like for me, oh sorry.
No, I was just gonna make a comparison again with the whole soccer thing, where like, eventually you would like to upgrade instead of shooting at a wall. You would, maybe go to a soccer field and like, get an actual goal in there.
Yeah. Well, for me, when I played, like this is even like recently too, when I played Fortnite. Yes, I played past tense. I don't play that much anymore. But I
The
used
disgust is still
a
real.
third-party mouse, which wasn't even meant for gaming, just meant for everyday office use, and it was pretty fine using it, to be honest. And like I really personally, I don't think you need all those like wacky tacky like stuff on the mouse if you don't really feel like playing competitively. If you just want to play casually, like TF2, Fortnite, Overwatch, you really don't need like all those like crazy setups or anything. You just want something that you're comfortable with and you're content with like spending the money for. If you want to spend the money on like just a normal mouse, just go for it. And if you want to spend money on a very expensive mouse like people use for League of Legends, then yeah, sure, why not? But that's only if you really want to do that. It's like your choice for the
that's
step
more if
up.
you're making money from that,
Well,
right? If you're making money from that, then yeah, you definitely upgrade. But you're not getting there with your shitty mouse.
Same with, as someone who used to buy
The
very
soccer.
cheap soccer balls, eventually they pop and you'll buy another soccer ball. Or instead of buying those cheap ones that keep popping, you buy a better soccer ball instead of for $5, $10, and then, keeps
I don't
going
remember
up.
how much my soccer ball was actually. I've had the same one since like 7th grade. I don't even think
Oh,
it was
wow.
that expensive.
Okay.
I don't think it was that expensive either. And it's still
Yeah.
working pretty fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's also, but it also brings me on to, I guess that in sports a lot of stuff gets outdated at some point, but nothing gets more outdated than your PC.
oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yes.
Like I built this and it's already outdated.
Dude, it's like cars. The moment the new car gets released, they have the next 10 in line by that point. Like the Tesla models, they keep getting revamped, and then like you have Toyota. In 2018 there was like the 2019 Toyota, and now we're in the 2021 Toyota line. And they probably have the 2030 line already ready for us. But
Yeah,
Everything's
I don't know,
outdated.
it's just kind of ridiculous.
At least with console gaming, it's you buy a console, you're set for the next 7 years, and if you just
Yeah,
use
I
the
mean, because
controller
there's no
that comes with
competition.
it, then you're
Then
good.
they keep releasing like revamps of the console, like the PS4. Then they have the PS4 Pro, or the PS4 Slim, which is like arguably at least some work better than the original, and have
Yeah.
more storage. So you're like, fuck.
But
Like, what-
I don't
what
think
I do?
those will affect esports titles, quote
No.
unquote. Yeah, like Overwatch will run
But
whatever, or like fighting games will still run 60 on both the pro version and base version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but here's my question. Here's my question. Another thing that's fairly volatile is the esports that you can play. Like you said it yourself that at Evo a few games just don't make it. Like, and there's no really. Why would the pony game not be esports? Why would what makes the game not be esports? I understand there's a lot of balancing issues cause games not to be esports, but there's a huge variety of games that are balanced, and it's like having 17 different sports, not even 17, hundreds, thousands of different sports at the same time, and they're all competing for the same crowd.
Oh yeah, like different.
That is difficult.
Yeah, a different game is seen as a different sport. I think that's a good way to see it.
Yeah, but then you imagine that like baseball is like 150 years old, and Overwatch is not even 10,
Like 5,
like 5.
It came out
and
2016, so 4.
4.
Yeah, so and Overwatch might get a different. There might be an Overwatch 2, or there just might be a better game than Overwatch at some point. It's just like,
Such as Valorant.
We used to play Overwatch. Yeah, like we used to play Overwatch, but now we play this game.
I feel like
And now they're trying to make CS:GO an Overwatch game. It's just like, okay, we did have CS:GO, but now we have Valorant. Like that's the goal.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to like real life, when the sports, you can just keep updating them, and it'll just be an integration over like a few years. Like football, for example, like when it came to like the helmets they used to wear, they used to be leather helmets, but now they wear like the harder ones, and like they didn't need to make a completely new sport for that, and they just revamped everything over
but-
time with the same thing. But when it comes to games, you after a certain amount of time, I feel like the community, well, depending on the game at least, will be like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. And then the company's like, you know what? We can make more money off of this if we just release another game and put a big old 2 in front of it, and then we sell it for the same price as the first game when it first came out. And then boom, there's a completely different thing, and it's the same thing though. It's like with it's like with FIFA. There's no difference. It's just the same game over and over again with a different number.
And updated
Yeah.
players, some players. I defend. Even though I stopped playing FIFA, I defend the whole argument of it being the same game because I'll give EA credit of they actually update their game modes a lot every year, and they make the game more fair.
They haven't really updated career mode in like ages.
Well,
Yeah, but I will say that that kind of game needs to be updated because it's based on real life.
Yeah.
And the teams change almost every year.
so every
you
year
have
it's
to
a
do
different
this.
game. That's what I would argue, because some players retire, some players move to different teams, different leagues.
But I
you
feel,
know.
but I feel like that it is a different game, but I wouldn't say that it's a different esports because while there are some stuff that stays the same and some stuff that changes, it's still FIFA.
Like the core
It's still
concept of the game is still there.
Yeah, it's still soccer.
Yes.
But the fact that you need to constantly update the game to make it's not like, okay, we're gonna make this is gonna be the FIFA game
Not even
of all FIFA games.
Not even
We're-
update.
No,
It's
we're
just
gonna
buy a new one.
no. I mean, make a new FIFA game in which all the legends of the sport are in it, and never change it, and that's it. And that will be that will be an esports because you know all the players, they're consistent, and the mechanics stay the same. But if you change the players, okay, then picking the players is another sport. And it's like, okay, predicting the players is a different sport as well because you need to decide, okay, I know that this guy and this guy are gonna go into this team for this upcoming year, and that's disadvantage to my career in FIFA. So I'm gonna need to step out. It's just like that's quite the meta.
Yeah. Uh, that's why the perfect example, I guess, of a game that has stayed there for a while, and people still play it to this day is Melee, Super Smash Melee. People who love that game, and I personally love it. It's just I prefer Ultimate in terms of playing and
Don't
controlling.
you scold Tom for playing it?
Well, we need to get Tom in here just to talk about Melee. Honestly, we need to have a day where we just talk about Melee. But anyways, it's a 20-year-old game or 19-year-old
2001.
game. Yeah, it's a 19-year-old game that people still play till this day and still figuring out the meta for, and people just don't want to move on, I guess. And
No. I feel. Do you think update culture is kind of debilitating to esports?
what culture?
It's people release a game and they're like, so we know that some stuff is not ready, but and some stuff is not balanced, but we'll update it as we go on as we see errors. Do you think that is somewhat damaging esports?
Um,
Because if you release the game and then people play it for like a good example is Battlefield 5 and Counter Strike. Battlefield 5 when it came out changed the amount of time that it takes to kill a player within 6 months of it coming out, and that was a huge change. And in the CS:GO side, the game got updated for the first time in a while, and the only thing they updated was that the I think that the lighting was different, but it wasn't significantly different. It was like, oh, this wall has a light on it, and that was the change.
okay.
In the Battlefield 5, that's a huge meta change.
Yeah.
Like you can't use the same weapons anymore. You have to change your strategy. You need to hide better, or you can tank a few more bullets before you can actually hide and run. And it's like if you have a sniper and you're against someone with an SMG, and the time to death is less time, then you're gonna win with a sniper no matter what. If you're relatively good and if you take your time to aim, but in the Counter Strike side, that change didn't matter. But that's culture from 2001, and Battlefield 5 is culture from 2020 basically.
Yeah.
So do you think this constant fluctuation of this is the game now? No, wait, this is the game. No, this is the game now.
I feel like
It's a problem for esports.
personally, it's not really a big problem, in my opinion. I feel like it would only be a problem for like a short term. Like, oh man, now we gotta adapt to this new thing. Now we gotta change our strategy in case it's something that did change it. But overall, I wouldn't say it's a big problem. However, if it's like a huge update which changes like not just the core like weapons and like that, at least maybe the core mechanics, if that were to change, I feel like it would cause a huge problem. But overall, I wouldn't say it's nothing of a problem. But I think it's just more like, yeah, just make sure you just change it up, change up your old style.
Yeah. I agree with Diego.
Hello,
That-
Andrew.
What are we talking
Oh.
about?
Hi. So Luis was talking about if updating the game or yeah, patch notes, are they good or bad for esports? And
Oh, for esports, I have opinions on this. Actually, it's funny that I go after this.
yeah, I was gonna say
Different
that.
opinions on everything.
I was gonna
I
say that it's as Diego mentioned, adaptation is part of the game, and I 100% agree with that. If a player can't adapt, then hey, that's their loss. But
don't like.
I'll use Smash as an example. Like they could buff or nerf some of his moves, but they can't just with an update change how his up smash works or like his down B. They just change it up completely. That would hurt the game, I think.
Mhm.
But
And
just
like we have,
buffs and nerfs, that's I'm up for that actually.
oh, and I feel it's funny that we all have different experiences. I'm like, I know nothing about esports at all, so I'm learning at the same time.
So
Yeah.
Andrew, what's your take on this?
So regarding like patches and how modern games have a lot of like patches to and updates, right? Like live service games basically. I think it's a double-edged sword because there's obviously good and bad things about it. The good thing is that um games that release extremely fucked up have a chance to like become playable games still. And also you have like stuff like new characters being added, new content being added, which is like incredibly positive, I think. But the downside is that I think balancing is sometimes detrimental to games and like or like not balancing but like adding shit and not letting the meta and stuff be uh well, you kind of have this. You have these two things, right? It's two schools of thought regarding this, and it's you have organic meta, and then you have like dev controlled meta. And I think it's not like a good or evil thing. Like it's just one is one and one is the other. Whereas you have like melee is a good example of organic meta, where it's like okay, so the game is still evolving like 10 years with no updates, and like new stuff is being discovered, and like characters are being like, and then you have like another example of a game that's like updates a lot is like or a dev focused game is like Overwatch, where like the game is being updated fairly frequently, and broken stuff gets removed and usually gets replaced with other broken stuff, but then eventually that gets removed. So you have this kind of cycle of the game. The meta is constantly changing, which can be a good thing. It's just that it's directed by the devs, not directed by the players. So,
Yeah.
but I think there's like a bad future for both of them, right? Like because as I said in the beginning, I don't think it's a good or evil thing because people always say, well, melee is great because they never updated that game. And it's true, Melee is great because they never updated that game, and so it has this really incredible organic meta where like you have like okay, so like last year people found out Pikachu is good, like this like how old is this game? Like this game is super
Like,
fucking old, and
19
they're like
years.
like 19 fucking. I don't think it's that old, is it? God, I'm not that old, am I?
It came out in 2001.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's
Yeah.
that.
Andrew, for reference, Diego was born in 2001.
Mhm.
Oh, I hate you guys.
And,
Oh no, I'm such a fucking boomer. But like, so that game is like 19 years old. It's as old as Diego, and it has no balance patches, and the meta is evolving as of last year. Like, that's incredible. I think that's like really really cool, and that's like the argument for the organic meta. But then you have a game like Soul Calibur 3, which is like, and let me tell you something about Soul Calibur 3 that was a huge problem. That game was really good. People really liked it. And then they found out there were bugs in that game that made it completely unplayable to top level. Like you could like instantly kill people. There were like really awkward bugs with level geometry where people would just like instantly like fall through walls and shit and die. And then everyone stopped playing it because the game was broken and it never got patched because that wasn't a thing. So the competitive scene just died. Like
Mhm.
So yeah,
Can
that's
I get a
always
moment?
a possibility. Yeah. Yes.
I am. So, Wally, Mitch, can you check your recording to make sure that you're taking it in audio?
Yeah.
Are we good with that?
Speaking of that, for some reason Discord just kicked me out in the middle of Andrew talking, so I just joined like a few seconds in.
That's
Like I only
hilarious.
missed like 2 or 3 seconds of Andrew talking, but
Well,
yeah.
I'm sure it wasn't that important, but
the most relevant thing that has been said in this whole podcast. And we've been recording for 44 minutes, and the thing you just said is the most relevant thing we've talked about so far. So,
and it's like not, yeah, and it just wasn't in it, so it's incredible.
I feel like
Yeah. Wally, do let me know. Do you know if you've been recording at least Discord the whole time?
Yes, I've been recording for like 30 minutes.
All right, cool. It was just me. That's great. Well, so it's kind of like, yeah, regarding anything I was saying, and then obviously there is the other failure of games to get bounced all the time, where like Smash 4, right? So Smash 4 was a game, and I say this all the time about Smash 4. If you loved Smash 4, you can never ever go back to the game that you loved because Bayonetta's in it now. Like, do you get me? Like, if you actually loved
I do
Smash
get you.
4 before Bayonetta came out, like if that was your favorite Smash game and you loved it and you invested all your time into it, you can now never go back to that game unless you're playing with friends and they all agree to not play Bayonetta, which I think is insane. Like, you know, like that is actually a thing, and that's like the fail. That is like an example in my mind of a failure of a live service game where it's like, well, it just like they just kept adding shit, and eventually the thing they added ruined the game, and then they were like, oh, we're done here. You know?
Yeah, but do you think it's easier to mess up the esports meta by updating it or just letting it lie?
I think it is way easier to fuck up a game by updating it, but I think it's something that has become like an expectation and a necessity that you have to update your game, you have to balance patch your game, like, and
It's part of the game.
Well, the real thing is more than people expecting you to balance your game. People expect you to add new shit. Like that's the thing. Like DLC is a very normal thing for fighting games and competitive games in general. In Overwatch and League of Legends, they add characters all the time to keep the game fresh. And with that, there's the unspoken agreement that you also have to do a balance patch because that guy you add might be really broken. So like, and most of the time they are, yeah. Like, so that's the thing.
I feel like especially like this has been happening a bigger boom in our time. Like within the last 10 years, like more games have been relying on the internet so much often. Like Melee came out during a time when the internet wasn't really that big.
Yeah, no, there wasn't a lot.
So like there was really no way for like Nintendo to like update the game.
Distribute a balance patch. Actually, interesting story about Melee is there is a balance patch for Melee. It's the European version of the game.
I was going to mention that because like
Yeah.
remember the European version was technically the only update Melee ever received.
Yeah,
In America, Japan,
it's
and
true.
like that's about it. After that, there was nothing else. And with Brawl, when that came out, and the internet on the Wii was like not as good as like the Switch in modern day.
Yeah, it's miserable. The
internet.
Brawl online is miserable.
Updates, like I don't think there were. I don't remember how many updates. If there even were any, but like
Brawl did not receive any updates. Yeah.
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay, before then Smash 4, then that definitely received updates.
Oh,
but, like,
for sure.
And like Melee doesn't rely on the internet, doesn't need that much, so like no updates are in that. But I feel like if a game's connected online, I feel like it gives the chance for more people to find exploits or bugs in the game, and then the devs are like, okay, we have the ability to
fix this shit now. Yeah,
have the updates sent to everyone via the internet.
Yeah,
and it'd be much.
Yeah,
easier.
well, I definitely think that developers wanted updates the whole time, and for good reason. Because like if you put out like bug testing before used to be hell. Like because now, like New Animal Crossing is a great example. That game released unfinished. Like that is extremely explicit. The game is not finished and like is lacking a ton of content. It was buggy as fuck. But it was fine because they updated it all really fast. It's like, well, actually, that is fine, and that wouldn't have been possible like 5 years ago. So it's actually crazy, and it makes life easier that you don't have to bug fix or balance test as rigorously before launch.
Yeah, but the thing I was talking about before you joined, Andrew, is that I was making the analogy that it's way harder for esports surprised me because I really didn't think it was going to go anywhere.
Yeah, me neither.
Because I had the assumption for a long time that I'm not going to repeat the whole thing.
Yeah.
But the barrier to entry for an esports game is way higher than any regular sport. And in addition to the fact that the sport changes constantly, and I consider every game a separate sport, basically.
Yeah, no. I think you're correct.
Yeah.
I think you're correct.
It's really hard to latch on to anything because update.
Well, I think that's legit because being good at one fighting game doesn't equivalent to being good at all of them, and being good at a MOBA doesn't equivalent to being good at all of them. And like if you're good at CS:GO, that doesn't mean you're going to be good at Rainbow Six or Overwatch, right? So yeah, I think that's fair. Like
Yeah, but another thing was that it's fairly hard to finance esports.
It is. Yeah, that's a thing
because there isn't kids. You see a lot of kids doing esports. Well, yeah, the kids plays, but that kid didn't buy the PC, or at least the first one.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive to get into playing games seriously. Someone actually brought up how expensive it is to get into Smash Ultimate, and it's actually it is quite expensive.
Like you need a Switch and obviously the game.
You need a Switch in the game, you need the controller, you need the adapter, you need like a Switch Online subscription. So you need a lot of stuff actually.
Both DLC packs.
And that's just one game.
Yeah.
And you need both
Yeah, and I
DLC
don't know.
packs.
What'd you say, Wally?
You need both DLC packs.
Yeah, you need the DLC.
They are like
like,
$30 each. Yeah.
It's pretty expensive, like honestly, just to get into that game. And then the online's not
It's
great, so it's
egregiously
like
expensive.
okay. Well,
And then you need to consider, but then you
yeah,
need to
go on.
consider, oh, the game might change because update.
Yeah, well, the game will change, and it has in every modern fighting game. I don't think there is a modern fighting game that doesn't really receive, like Under Night actually doesn't receive a lot of balance patches. That's actually one of the ones that is very unusual. And for the record, I think that is good for the game, and it's been healthy for the game. So it's like interesting how this stuff kind of works out. But then it received a balance patch, and I think that fucked up the game. But that's just me. I think overall I am more of a fan of no balance patches or fewer balance patches, but I recognize that they are a necessity. Like, do you get me? I think
Having
another
the
thing that
option
people
is good.
yeah, I think another thing that people don't really think about is the reason balance patches come with characters is because people like the thing is when you develop a character, the reason the games tend to have pretty good balance on launch usually is because all those characters are designed with each other in mind. Do you get me?
Yeah.
Like when you make a game and it's like I think launch Overwatch is a really really good example where launch Overwatch was pretty tightly balanced. It was a tightly run ship because all the characters had been designed with each other in mind because there's only 10 of them, right? And so they all like interacted with each other in clear ways and like were like, okay, well this character's has strengths and weaknesses, and these weaknesses and strengths matter because they interact with other characters, right? And I think that usually is
Yeah.
the case for games on launch because when you're developing a game like as a whole, like it's much easier to like keep track of these things, like whereas when you add a character after launch, you are developing them in a vacuum and you're just trying to remember what's the other characters like. They're not being developed alongside. You're trying to like make a new guy to slot into the existing roster. So I think that usually doesn't go quite as smoothly. So you need a balance patch with that because obviously like there's probably going to be balance issues that arise from adding a new character to. It's like adding new parts to a functioning boat. It's like, well, the boat already works, but people want new parts, so we got to add a new part. And if that part makes the boat not work completely, well, we have to do something about that. So
Yeah, no, the way that I described it before you arrived was that patches are because I want to keep the analogy that if video games, I mean esports and regular sports have something in common, it's something, and sometimes they have a lot of stuff that's not in common. And the thing that they have not in common is that it's updates because you don't see someone updating baseball.
yeah, no, it's true.
And then you consider, okay, so let's put aside baseball and focus on Overwatch. So now we release this game and it's called Overwatch and it's gonna be the new baseball. And then they decide to release something because the fan base says we want more content, and they're like, okay. And now the rules change. So it was baseball, but now you gotta swing your bat, but you need to put a weight at the end of your bat when you want to play.
That's actually what it is. That's actually what it is. Like, and that's how it is. And then, actually, even more than Overwatch, League of Legends is a good analogy for this because League of Legends actually, every season, they change how the game is played in a big way usually. So it's like you have to play entirely differently. It's like, well, this just isn't baseball anymore. Like, this is a very different game. There just happens to still be a bat and a ball, like but this is you can't say this. You can't really say this is baseball anymore. This is fucking weird. Like,
Yeah, it's like the core gameplay is still there. And I
Yeah.
mentioned this earlier. It's like you just need to adapt, and like if you really can't adapt, then you're not going to do that as well as you did previously.
I think it's a thing, and I mean, you can even see that in Smash Brothers actually, because every Smash game is different. Like Smash 4 and Ultimate are very different, and I mean, like Zero's not on top of the world anymore, is he? Like,
Yeah.
As a Zero Two main, I can.
Well, it's actually it's legit. Like Zero used to be incredibly good, and now he's like, well, he's not incredibly good because this is a different game. Like,
Yeah.
he's good at baseball. He's not good at whatever this is.
Surprisingly, Leo and Nairo are. They've been.
They've been good, yeah, because well, they're good at adapting. I think Diego said it really well. Yeah.
Nairo is top 10 in Brawl, Smash 4, and Ultimate.
Which I think people don't give enough credit for because that's insane because they are 3 different games. Like,
Yeah.
like they are so different games, and I think so it's very crazy that you can be so good at 3 different games. Like, I think that's incredibly impressive. I think
And he's
that's
been the
why players
underdog.
like.
He doesn't get enough credit because he's not number one, sadly.
Yeah, but he's been good at all 3 games. Like, I think that's incredible. Like, who the fuck MK Leo, like, fucking who cares about that guy like before this? Like, who the fuck is
Yeah.
that? Like, who is that guy? Fuck,
Can't wait till someone masters all 5 games.
all 5 Smash games. There isn't a
God,
player, right? Like, there isn't
Blindfold.
actually a guy who's good at all the Smash games.
Well, doesn't
Blindfold
SmashCon do
stones.
that?
But there isn't like a single guy, is there? Like, I can't think of a guy who's like a top player in all 5 games.
Like
And-
Yeah.
you can use the GameCube controller in 4 of the 5 games, but if you can't master 64, then you can't have that title of the ultimate plus Smash.
God, 64 is a super fucked up game, for the record.
You have you have one stick.
Super fucked up game.
No, it's not even the controller. It's Kirby.
Yeah.
Just Kirby.
It's just
Actually, all
Kirby and
the
Pikachu.
characters have like touch of death stuff. The only character who does it is Samus. Well, like that's it. So it's
Mhm.
here. So just everyone's good and Samus is bad, basically.
Yeah, but the problem that I have is I'm kind of the old, like Andrew. I'm not old, but I don't know shit about esports,
Yeah.
and because I don't know what the kids do these days. But one of the things that the reason why I didn't think esports was going to be big is because of the reasons I mentioned. It's fairly hard to do. It's very hard to get into. It's really hard to keep up. It's just everything seems like it's its own little game because you gotta play the meta game and then the other game and then the actual game and then you need to play the equipment game of what you have.
Yeah, it's not
It's
easy.
just-
Do you think League of Legends was the first like big esport? It was, right? I'm
I would
pretty
I would
sure.
say so, yeah.
It's League of Legends, right? Like it was like it's
No.
still League of Huh? No?
No, because I remember a video. It was like, God, it wasn't League of Legends. I'll look it up. We have computers around.
League of Legends, Evil's always been a thing and like stuff like that, but I thought like League of Legends was the first time like normies were like, yeah, I'm gonna play esports, like for real. Like,
And like there are videos from like 7 years ago, even talking about like the esports scene of like
Oh my God.
League of Legends. And like 7 years ago doesn't sound like that much, but it's like a long time.
for esports, like 100%, yeah. I think
Louise, what did you find?
According to ISPO or whatever, the first real esports tournament, major tournament, was Space Invaders.
Oh
in
my god.
1978.
it's bullshit.
Oh yeah.
It's bullshit. That's not what we're talking about at all,
In
man.
what
Like,
year?
No, it's not. But it's just esports in general. I mean, esports like this would never happen because you need an arcade machine.
Also,
if
I
we're
was
gonna say
also
that, then-
I was totally wrong. Sorry, I was totally wrong about League because actually StarCraft was big before League. I think
Yeah,
League was really big in North America, but I think StarCraft was big before League. StarCraft was like esports, the first one, I think.
Mhm.
Like the first, like really like okay, this is like a thing that people are watching.
If you're gonna go on the oldest games, then you could say the Pong tournaments were the first.
I mean,
They did used to
yeah.
do those like old arcade tournaments like Donkey Kong and stuff. I remember reading about that stuff way back when. But I think like the real thing with esports, like there's a big fucking stadium and like people are like buying merch of their favorite teams is like StarCraft first and shit.
Yeah. I don't know. It just amazes me. I'm sure there is. So I'm sure there are Minecraft esports. I was also talking about if each game is a sport, then it's fairly difficult to get traction if every game is a sport.
Well, like define game, video game, or
No, video game because Wally brought up that Evo was bringing in basically My Little Pony, the fighting game. And
Oh, they are doing that because you know why they're doing that, right?
Is it a joke? Is that why?
No, it's dead serious. So that
Is there
game
an
is being
actual
brought in.
community?
No, this game is being brought in. This is hilarious. So Evo, obviously, the physical Evo has been canceled because of coronavirus, which makes a lot of sense. So Evo is having online tournaments this year. That's what's happening. And that game has very good netcode. So that's actually the reason. So the 4 games that are being played are the 4 games that have the best netcode, basically. So it's Skullgirls, the My Little Pony game, Mortal Kombat, and Killer Instinct, I believe, right?
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because those 4 games have very, very like a high quality like netcode, that can be used to like host online tournaments because it uses a different type of netcode than most games do. So that's the reason that that's being brought on, basically. And the other major games that were supposed to be appearing are just going to be exhibition matches between pros like who are playing online but in like pretty close proximity, so there isn't like lag, obviously, because that would be pretty ugly.
Oh yeah.
So there
Wow.
is a legitimate reason. It isn't just a hilarious joke. And yeah, I don't really have any enthusiasm for that game because it looks fucking stupid.
Yeah, but it's just like that's
Well,
that's
people
an
say
esport.
people say it's a fucking good game, so I'm like, well, I have to give him credit for that, but I won't play it. Like, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah, but it's just like this is the thing. It's like having 17 different games that are all baseball, and it's just like, okay, the fan base can either go to one of them or all of them, depending on how much money they have. But
Well,
it's just like,
definitely.
it's very
Well,
hard
that's why.
to
Well,
crack
that's
it.
why. That's why fighting games tend to be very like low key unless they're being sponsored by their parent company and their parent company is rich. Like like so NetherRealm Studios, Capcom, and Street Fighter, Bandai and Tekken. Like the big events that really are like that not only are like bringing in new players to the player base, but also are like taking place in stadiums are being sponsored by those companies. And then like smaller games like Under Night and the fucking My Little Pony game, like tend to have very small fan bases, not only because they're niche, but because they're not getting like big exposure in that way.
Do you think
Which
like
is
oh, sorry. No, I was
no,
gonna
go on.
You think like troll culture is gonna like milk the shit out of the My Little Pony being there, and people
Oh.
gonna accidentally make it the top game of Evo?
Well, it's kind of kind of like I think the game has been very popular because of reasons like because it's a meme game, like and then people are like, well, actually, I like playing it, so they just keep playing it. But so kind of it's kind of happening actually. In general,
it's
that's
a good game. It's a good game.
well, it's not even good game, good game. I think I've talked about with other friends is that people don't really like to admit it because because people are very pretentious about competitive games for some reason. But the most important thing in what decides games popularity is basically public opinion, right? Like because if like a game is like well liked and well regarded, then people will play it, and now they'll have a large player base. Like Under Night is a good example. Like that game has like a really really good reputation, so people are interested in it, even though there are a lot of games that are like Under Night that people are not interested in. Like, do you get me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it basically is just it basically comes down to public opinion of a game, which is like like how are people saying about it in general, like in communities, what are people saying, how do people feel about the game, and how it looks, because if it looks like shit, no one's gonna play it, and that's actually a thing that people do not like to talk about, but it's incredibly true. I think like
I mean, that's why Fortnite's so good, right?
well,
Fortnite is fun to look at. It's
yeah,
objectively
kids,
fun to
kids
look
like it. Yeah, kids like it for sure, and I think it's like got a broad appeal. Like it's not like offensive for sure. I think because like games like Tekken and like are very like okay, people like to look at this stuff. Like people like to look at like a good example of like a good looking game. I'm not trying to think. Well, the new Smash is really incredibly good looking. So like there's that element,
I was gonna say
And then-
Dead or Alive.
Well, Dead or Alive looks like shit. That's what part of the reason people don't play it for real. Like I think it looks like really visually whatever.
Well,
I
have
think.
you seen Extreme Beach Volleyball though?
Actually, my brother had that game and I played it as a kid because I didn't really have any concept of like sexy girls, so I was like I love volleyball. Like actually, it was my brother had it, so I just played this game and it's like yeah, I love volleyball. And I remember I distinctly would always pick the Chinese girl because I'm like, well, I'm Chinese, so I gotta play the Chinese girl.
Fair.
It's relatable. I'm like, I wish there were I wish that I could pick a boy in this game. I don't know why I can't do that, but That's a real experience I had, yeah.
I think they knew what they were doing when they.
Well, they
made
definitely knew what they were doing.
The only male in the game is the guy at the beginning. That's it.
Yeah, and you're the only human alive that said, "What? Hey, what can I pick a guy in Dead or Alive?"
Beach volleyball.
Extreme Beach Volleyball.
It's like, oh my god.
I want that to be an esports.
No, esports still amazing. I mean, I don't keep up with anything, because obviously I'm gonna die in my room reading a book, and it's like, oh man, look at that thing. That's called an esports, son.
And
I
esports.
think an incredibly wild thing about esports is that I agree with Luis that they're incredibly hard to get into, but it doesn't stop people from trying. But I think it's only because they have it's because they have no idea. They have no fucking idea. I remember back when I was a kid in high school when you guys were all still fucking fetuses.
You're not that much older than me.
Yeah, not for real. But like back when I was a kid in high school, like my thing was that I like remember like a ton of my peers were like, I want to go pro in League of Legends, and I was like, it's just not gonna happen, man. Like, are you fucking kidding? Like it's not gonna happen. Like it's like you would have to be so incredibly talented and so incredibly like better than as good as you need to be, and you have to be lucky. There's this element of like
just luck.
I remember I used to think up until pretty recently, I used to disagree with the idea that I think that like people, I used to believe very strongly that anyone can become a pro player, right? Like because or a top player of a game, right? Even if there's a lot of people playing it, I think it's possible for anybody. Anybody can do it. But I think that's not true anymore. Not because people don't try hard enough or people don't have aptitude, but the luck element of you could just live in a place where nobody plays the game and then you're fucked. Like
Yeah.
like you could live in a bad location that doesn't have any like scene. You could like be in a position where like nobody wants to teach you or nobody like is around to teach you. You could so much stuff can just happen, and then you're like, well, okay, I just have no ability to become a better player where I am, and or you could like financially not be able to do it. Like there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of reasons.
Yeah, I feel like that's also the barrier to entry thing, because I was talking about how it's very easy to learn any typical sport like baseball, soccer, football, or whatever, but it's very hard to find a community that first has all the gaming pieces that you need to have a competitive scene, and two, likes the game that you're playing.
I think it's not like it's easier to become a better like a strong soccer player because like it's very easy to play soccer because like the game
I feel access to playing soccer.
Yeah, that's the difference. Like if you want to be like, okay, and for the next 3 years of my life I will play soccer every day, you can do that. Like, and you can actually find people who will seriously play the game with you, and like you can find teams that you can be part of. Like going pro in League of Legends involves finding 4 other people who are as driven and at your skill level as you are. And frankly, good fucking luck. Good fucking luck. Holy shit.
You'd be lucky enough to find one person. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like it is incredibly lucky to find one person who is like at your level of commitment and wants the same goal as you. Like and as well
and a good human being.
Well, yeah. That is literally in everything, for the record.
You've seen those videos of guys screaming. Like the donkey video when he made it on Team Siren when they were at the thing. You know, he showed
that is a hella good video, for the record.
The guy screaming like, "Men are horrible," and then this guy screaming like, "Oh, you're like."
Yeah.
I found it funny when they were just screaming.
That whole Team Siren thing, I don't know if you remember that, but that was like
they like disbanded like a month in.
Well, you know why, right? They were like insane fucking.
They just didn't like each other.
No, there was like fucking like really like intense controversy, like fucking like it was like a sex scandal and shit. Like before they even played a match, it was like, okay, this is really out of control. Yeah, like. League has a history of these really unfortunate esports motivated
gamer moments.
Yeah, heated gamer moments. To be sure.
Yeah.
I feel like that game is just one long, extended, heated gamer moment, to be honest.
The whole thing.
Yeah. Well, like, despite how hard it is to get into esports,
yeah.
Despite how hard, people will do it for free. If they don't make any money, it's just for their own entertainment. And
the really crazy thing, yeah, you're right. You're right, for the record. Keep going, because you're right.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, and if people think they can make money out of it, then with their already existent console or laptop or whatever, then they'll go for it. But I don't think people who don't have an access to a console or any sort of tech would want to go into esports.
I think the crazy thing is that a lot of people think they can become like incredibly good, and I think that they probably can, but like don't know how and think they know how. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, didn't you talk about this one guy had the meta and he was really good, but he was really good at that one specific thing. And when someone learned that thing, well, too bad. This is no entry for you because
well,
it's
I don't.
it,
I,
you can be very you can know a lot about this specific thing, but if you go out to the bigger league and they just know more than you, stuff that you didn't think about.
oh yeah,
well,
yeah. Well,
you're
that's a
shit out of
big
luck.
thing. That's a well. Okay, wait.
Oh my god.
Sorry, I have coronavirus. No, I don't actually. But my thing is with that is that regarding here's why people don't go pro in fighting games and competitive games, and a lot of people think they're going to go pro because they're pretty good relative to people they play. I think a really good example of this is do you remember I fucking forget his name. Who is that guy who used to go to VGA? I forget his name. Firewing or whatever was his tag.
Oh,
It was
Hassan.
Hassan.
Okay, Hassan. So like Hassan is like significantly
player.
better. Well, that's what I'm gonna get to, right? So Hassan is like significantly better than a casual player. Like that's legit, right? He's significantly better than a casual player, but he is actually nothing special for like a competitive player. Do you get me?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I say this without malice for the record. I'm not talking shit. Like I'm just quite serious about this, and I think he's aware of it too. So I don't feel bad saying it. Is that so Hassan's thing is that he is like really above the level of casual players, right? But he is like even or below the level of like an average competitive player, right? But that's really difficult. And having been there myself, that's a very difficult position to be in because there's like you are getting nothing from beating like casual players, right? Except like I guess you're stroking your own ego because you're shitting all over them. But you are actually getting decimated by like everyone who's serious. Like, do you get me? Because there's a huge gap between you and them. But how do you like the only way you can really like make that gap smaller is you basically have to throw away your ego and be like, well, I'm trash and I need to like start play as if I'm starting from the beginning, like, you know. But it's kind of hard to do that when you think you're really good because you're beating up everybody. Do you get me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you're only better than all the people around you that you beat.
Yeah, exactly. And that's an experience a lot of people have. And like basically a big thing that determines whether people become real players or not is like, can they move past that point of like, oh well, I'm better than everybody I know, but that still doesn't mean anything. Like, you know, like and it's bitter it's a bitter realization a lot of players have to come to that like, well, okay, well, my accomplishments that are my journey so far are not grand in the great scheme of things. And like it's the thing you have to let go of. And I think it's kind of like the thing you're saying where it's like, well, if people know a thing and then they move up, but everyone knows that thing, then it's really not a big deal because if that thing was the only thing separating them. Then yeah, that is what I would describe as the average journey into becoming a beginner level competitive player.
It's your knowledge of basically the game as a whole rather than your own experience.
Yeah, because I say it is fairly easy to become good at a game at the level where you can beat casual players. Like that's not super hard, but like if that's all you've done, then that's your whole life, man. Like, you know, that's like so of course that is a big deal to you. And I think that's not like insulting. I think that's just like how it is, you know.
Yeah. And it's going to be very hard to get into tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
You go to O2.
It's really bitter because you go to tournaments and then you're like getting really annihilated and you're like, well, I actually literally don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like I literally because I'm doing the same thing I've always been doing. It's worked and it just doesn't work now. So I'm like, I don't really get it.
Yeah.
And I'm actually having that experience again recently because I started getting into League of Legends again, right? And I got to plat, which is higher than your average player.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still incredibly not good at the game. So it's like really hard to move past that now because I'm like, well, there's so much stuff that I need to learn. I'm just like, but I'm in this position where I'm like, okay, well, everything I've invested so far is like not super useful, like, or isn't like all the work I've done to become better than your average player is like, well, that isn't really like, you know, like doesn't really have value or merit or anything like that. So I need to like keep going. And it's like, That's kind of difficult. I won't lie. It's difficult to be doing it again.
Yeah, I could see that.
You
But it's also, I feel the sports analogy it's kind of shared in this ground that in part because there's a lot of people that can coach you in any sports locally because
yeah.
you don't need to be a good player to coach people. But it's very hard to coach in esports.
I think you
It's
need to
even-
be a good. I think you really need to be a good player to coach people in esports. Like honestly, like I don't.
Yeah.
If
People
you don't know
say,
what you're doing.
yeah.
trying to
People
coach people.
people say you don't need to be a good player to coach in like League of Legends, and I think that is completely bullshit. Like I think that's completely untrue.
Like I feel like
And
the more
I'll be frank. I think that's a fucking excuse from coaches who are shit. Like honestly, like that's actually how I feel because I think that's so fucking horse shit. Because
like it's also
yeah, go on.
oh sorry. It's also like the case like it doesn't matter like esports or just regular sports. It's like you want your coach to know what they're doing. You don't want them to just come out fresh from like just some off the street like all right I'm gonna coach you right now, but
Yeah,
you want
no,
them to know the ins and outs.
I do think there are people who are trained coaches in like physical sports games who just cannot be good players because they're like not physically able to, which I think is legit. Like I think people do like train for that, but I think in esports like there is no physical barrier. So like if they're not good, like well why the fuck are they good? Like you know like I don't get it actually.
I feel like the thing is that esports deals with a lot more precision than regular sports, and not to shit on regular sports.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that I can agree with this. Yeah, but go on. Go on.
No, but in fact, in an esports setting, a few frames matter, and in terms of real sports, seconds matter. So there's a lot more. It's a lot more wiggle room on what
I
you
think
can
I
do.
think that's true, but I think execution in real sports is significantly more demanding. Is a big thing because you have to be fucking running. Like it's way more demanding. So I think it ends up balancing out. But I do think in esports it's kind of like if your coach isn't like experienced in the game and has played it, then like what the fuck? Like what is stopping them? Like you know like. I actually don't get that. Like I can totally get why there's like reasons coaches for real games would be like, well, I can't. I can tell you this stuff, but I can't do it because I don't have like I like don't have like good legs. It's like okay, yeah, sure. Like I get it actually, but I think in like your League of Legends coach is like silver 2. It's like, well, why the fuck doesn't he just stop being silver 2 like an asshole? Like you know, like it's fucking easy. Just stop. Like you know.
Yeah.
I'm not sympathetic at all. Like actually,
Kind of train the lower of the lowers instead.
Yeah.
And then real sports, there are instances where, like, a coach was previously a player back in the day, and
yeah, that's a big thing. I think that's legit. Yeah, if they used to be a pro player, then of course they're like qualified to be a coach. But I think
sometimes they're not. Sometimes they were like
really?
dog shit as players, but
I think
they just did really well as coach.
so-
They have a good
They'll
understanding.
They'll talk because it's not being recorded right now.
Wait,
Hey,
I was just everything good. Anyone can hear me?
Yeah, everyone can hear you
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
You're recording still?
Yeah,
Yeah, you were on the topic of coaches from real sports.
yeah, and it's just some coaches who are really good coaches, but when they were players, they were just dog shit. And the other way around, where like some coaches were good,
Players.
players.
Terrible coaches. Yeah, that's
And,
a
yeah,
thing.
they tried to
I
do.
think
Bad.
I think there's definitely a thing to be said about they were terrible. They're good players with terrible coaches. Like that's a
I
big thing.
can see it influence every single one. When it comes to a bad player or like good coach is Jose Mourinho.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
he wasn't even that well known back in the day when he played, but then he being a coach, he won the Champions League. In one of his first few years, and it's like the most prestigious trophy in all of Europe. And
yeah,
then he became better and better, won more trophies, more Champions Leagues, and then you have a player like Zinedine Zidane, who was a good player back in the day, a World Cup winner, and then his first year in Real Madrid, he won the Champions League.
So
And then there's like instances of like people who used to play who aren't that good right now. There's like Mikel Arteta, who unfortunately we can't even see what he's gonna do anymore because of coronavirus. And then there's good players, and there's just bad, and I can't really think of any instances where it's just bad.
There's a bad player, bad coach. Well, you can't think of any because you don't hear about him. You don't hear about because they don't win shit. You know? Like, but I think it's a thing where it's like I don't know. I think coaching is a very different set of skills, but I definitely, when it comes to esports, I definitely am like, well, I expect them to be good at the game because I don't think. I think here's the thing. So I agree with Luis's thing where it's like very entry is high in terms of like, well, okay, so it's hard to find people to play, and then it's hard to it's moderately hard to finance like a machine for it. Though I guess you can honestly, most people play fighting games on PS4, so you don't even need a PC. But like, I'll say that in those games, I really do expect the coach to have some level of like to be good. And if they're not good, I'm like, well, I don't fucking really care what they have to say. I think they're probably a fucking idiot. Like honestly, because I don't think because I expect they at least are above average because I think it's really easy to reach that level. Like, like in any fighting game, I think it's incredibly easy to reach the above average level of play. Like, I mean, a good example is like Mortal Kombat when we were playing Waleed. Like,
Yeah.
I taught you that Sub-Zero shit. And it's like a 5-second thing, and you just did it. People online, you just fucking killed them. I imagine. Like they got fucked up super bad by that. I imagine. Yeah, so it's like, well, it's not that hard to get to reach a level of competence. Like I think, like honestly, like. So I'm not very sympathetic to people who don't, like or people who are like, well, XYZ, but I don't, and it's like, well, just fucking do it, like like it's not that hard, like in this thing.
And like it's not like you have the chance of breaking your leg like in a sport where you try.
Yeah, you're not at risk at all. Like
you can just do it again.
Exactly, you're not at risk. You can just keep practicing. Like the only fatigue is mental, and like just go read a book or something, man. Like like, it's not. There's no reason you can't. Like that's my thing.
Well, another point is the people's hands. I know, like personally, Robbie and
like
Dylan,
or something like that.
That's different. I think that's
like
unusual.
For example, Robbie and Dylan both practice so much, and they actually started to have some problems with their hands because of how much they practice.
That is a thing, yeah, and that's a Smash thing for the record. That's a big Smash Brothers thing in general. I remember there was a story, and this isn't even like a news story. Like I heard this while I was at a tournament for Project M, where it was like probably some of the funniest. Well, not funny. It's actually really tragic, but what they said after made it really funny. Like Smash Brothers gossip I've ever heard, or tournament gossip that I've ever heard, where they were saying like, "Oh, did you hear about that kid from New Hampshire, that Melee Fox player?" And they were like, "Yeah, I heard that he's like really like messed up his hands. Like he's in a cast right now from playing Melee Fox, and he like has really fucked up his hands. And his doctor said if he keeps doing it, he's gonna like really permanently damage his hands." Okay. And what makes it hilarious is the guys like who's talking to is like, "Oh my god, that guy isn't even good though."
Oh wow!
it's like well, it's so fucked up because it's like wow, he's really like he's actually about to like cripple himself, and he's just not even good. It's like, oh my god.
Like, do you know that one meme clip where it's like someone with an Xbox controller and they're literally not even properly using, they're just moving their hand across it, like if they're speedrunning. So
yeah.
Smash play like
oh my god, have you ever seen Melee Fox? That's what it looks like. Yeah, it's like really like pushing your body to its limits. It's like, okay, well, don't do that,
Like I thought I did a lot when I played. I'm like, I'm only casual. Only imagine what they know when they're what they can do.
I'll link you the fucking GIF. There's a GIF about this, but like I think most games are not demanding like that. Though I did experience wrist problems after training for a Gundam tournament one time, which is crazy. So yeah.
Oh wow.
The only game I played like a lot of before like any like the Nintendo games I have is just was just FIFA. And even then it doesn't really require you to do like that much. The most you'll do in like a few seconds are like skill moves. But it doesn't require that much movement when it comes to like Smash in comparison.
Yeah, Smash does have a lot of it is incredibly demanding game, I think.
No. I
truly think it's
insane. More about
esports. I think it's truly insane that people are like, well, Smash is easy, because I don't really feel that way at all about Smash, honestly. Like I think it's easy to play casually, but I think it's a very different world.
Yeah.
Like it's a very difficult game to play competitively because I mean, the really big thing with Smash is that things are so abstract in that game. Like, how do you get better? Well, you just have to get smarter. How do you get smarter? I don't fucking know. Wait.
Didn't you tell me that? Oh yeah, that was luck. There's a lot of luck in Smash.
I think
in Ultimate at least.
I think no, it's not. No, it's not luck. It's there's a lot of 50-50 situations, and then like in the one and one of the big macro knowledge checks is like, well, do you know how to get out of the 50-50 situation? Well, do you know how you got into the 50-50 situation so you don't get put in that situation again? And at that point, you're guessing, like So there's a luck element. So like yeah. Sometimes when we play, I just put you in a 50-50 and then you don't know what's happening and then you just guess wrong and you're like, oh, I got outplayed, and I'm like, well, actually at that point it's just guessing. Like, at that point you got put in a situation like that.
I'm looking at the GIF you just sent.
Yeah, that's,
What?
well, I'll say that Melee is one of the highest, if not the highest APM game that isn't like StarCraft. So like, I wouldn't be too like, this isn't representative. It's just like a really crazy looking GIF,
But
and
still,
Ultimate is not this speed, but like Ultimate's pretty fast. Like Ultimate, you do have to do a lot of stuff pretty
I
fast.
remember
It's
being a
not
little
like
kid when playing Melee. I didn't think people could get more better than the A button.
Yeah, for real. It's a mood. It's a mood.
All right. Okay, I think we've been recording for how long have we been recording, Waleed?
Let me check. An hour and 20 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hopefully continuously, right? You have Andrew for all of that, right?
Only a tiny bit of Andrew cut off, but like just 1 or 2 seconds.
Well, I think whatever it was can't be that important. I think I just talk a lot,
I mean, I'm sure we're very repetitive somewhat, but how long has your OBS been recording?
1 hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's in there. So
yeah.
Where you? Well, neat.
Yeah, I feel like
Yes,
that
that's
we
the
covered
end?
a lot. That
Okay, then I will.
I mean,
we will do the outro. Well, and with that being said,
oh man, you
folks,
have an outro.
yes, we have an outro.
You have an outro.
It's just me. It's just me saying.
That's a surprise to me.
Thank you for joining us and listening to us just ramble on about I don't know, esports, the Marina's Trench. I don't know. But thank you. Do you guys have anything else to say before we sign off for now?
Esports are bad.
Okay.
No, they're not.
That's Luis, and that's Waleed's turn. We can have a debate next week then.
The morality of esports. All right.
That was
See ya.
fun.